After 8 years, I paroled out to my brother's walk-in closet.
I still got 3 years of parole left.
I want to talk about becoming the better you. We all want to become better versions of ourselves. You know, I met Brenda Ringwood, who started becoming the better you here a few years back, and I heard her story of how she went through so much obstacle, but yet that did not define her. She pushed forward and had massive success, and then started helping people around the country through her events about becoming the best version of themselves. And I resonate with that so much in so many ways, from my journey as an entrepreneur, from literally losing everything, almost going bankrupt, to making millions, losing millions. And now I feel like I'm a pretty good stride here at CEO as Big Brand Ventures and really helping grow businesses. But I look at all the entrepreneurs we work with. I look at people starting out. I look at people from all walks in life. They need somebody to really coach them and help them become the best version of themselves. And that is what BTBY does. So if you're a person watching this right now and you need help, you need support, you need, even if you're a successful entrepreneur that is looking for something more, that Becoming the Better You is an organization that can really help you. I endorse it. I've been to their events. I've spoken at their events. I've worked with their team, and I've seen what they can provide. So check it out. I highly endorse it. And maybe I will see you in one of their next events.
What's the excuse you've been telling yourself? And what if today you stopped believing it?
What would your life look like if no excuses became your new standard?
Are you ready to become the version of yourself that doesn't need an excuse to succeed?
What's holding you back? And is it real or just an excuse in disguise?
Who could you become if you stopped making excuses and started making moves?
What would happen if you made room for growth instead of giving power to your excuses?
Is your excuse bigger than your purpose? Think again.
How long will you let your excuses write your story?
What if your breakthrough is on the other side of your best excuse?
What are you willing to let go to make space for your greatness? No excuses.
ComeChangeYourLife.com.
BTBY.
God was real, and that he didn't see me, that mission field wasn't what he had planned for me. So I actually went into my IPO the day before my release. My home plan had been approved, but it was the same awful home plan that I had before.
Yeah, but you had something different this time.
I did.
You had a house guest.
But I told her, I said, I'm not going home tomorrow. She said, no, everything's approved. Here's your paperwork. I said, no.
Wow.
No, you don't understand. I am not going home tomorrow. I had actually run into a young man that was 36 years old. Now, the intake process takes at a minimum about 3 to 4 months, right? So what we call an in and out means that you come in, they straighten your paperwork out, and they release you. At the minimum, an in and out takes about 3 to 4 months. At 36 years old, this young man had been there 19 times in reception.
Ooh.
And it's just where I saw myself. If they let me out, I knew that even though I was walking with God and feeling strong with God, I didn't have anything in place to keep me from going back to right. Mm-hmm. So I went into and she said, no, we're releasing you. I said, I will smack a guard in the mouth.
Just to stay.
To stay. You're not letting me go. It is that serious.
But you also knew what could happen if you did.
That's right. And she said, nobody's ever told me not to let them out. I'm like, well, you don't get to say that tomorrow. So, and about 2 months after that, a representative came in from a place called Mission Gate Prison Ministries. And Mission Gate Prison Ministries is loosely a halfway house.
Right.
It's a place that you actually get paroled to, like a home plan, but they are Christian run, Christian operated. You have 3 chapel services a week. You have Celebrate Recovery. You have Bible studies with your housemates. You have responsibilities. You will go to work. Like
that's okay.
You don't go to work. You don't go to church. You go back to prison. Period. Yeah, like
here's your options.
Yeah. You can do the program, or you can go back to prison. We're not going to play games with you. And Mission Gate's amazing record is that for their graduates, now the graduation percentage is somewhere around 18 to 20% of the men, because not everybody's going to do it. For their graduates, we have a 3% recidivism rate. 3%.
Wow.
For Mission Gate graduates, which is just stunning. To be able to turn that completely on its head from 93% to 3%. And so, they had everything in place. They had employers that were set up to deal with you that knew what the restrictions were on your lifestyle and your time. They had parole officers who came to the house. So you didn't have to figure out how to work all day and then get downtown and go to a PO appointment and, skip buses and everything was in place. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. So the job that they got me when I came out 7 days after I got out of prison, I actually held that job for over 5 years until the company sold. It was a complete 180, and I have stayed involved with that ministry. As a matter of fact, in 2 days, I'll go back and do an hour-long presentation for those men that are still in the program.
That's fantastic.
It's been really cool.
So you really did start on your from felon to fabulous journey in the jail cell.
Absolutely. What motivated me, not just the gospel, which is motivation enough, but I thought I finally surrendered to God at 44 years old after 35-ish years of running through addictions and having troubles with the law and whatever else. What if I could get a guy at 35 who hasn't lost his kids yet? And what if through me, God could grab somebody at 25, on his first prison trip, right?
That actually finds the right person for his life.
Yeah.
The right spouse,
First of all, finding God, right? And then letting him lead him into, what if we could get rid of that 20 years or 25 years or whatever it was that I was out there floundering around and not finding the answer? What if we could get the truth into a 20-year-old, and just break him loose of all of this and let him know? So, I don't know that there was, like you said, we're responsible for the seed, not the harvest. Right? But I would sit out in the day room every day with my Bible before and after chapel. And if they wanted to come up and sit down, it didn't matter who they were or what their charges were. At the table in the day room, come on, let's talk about God a little bit. And a lot of men did. Of course, there were also the ones that were like, they'd pass you a note because they didn't want everybody to know that they wanted to know about God.
Can we do this somewhere private? Yeah.
Right.
Not talking to strip church.
But it was an amazing opportunity. And so that's my thing now, is working with the men that are coming out of prison. Like, let me help them make sure this is the last time. Let them not be part of that statistic.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So talk to us now. Let's fast forward to what you're doing right now.
Wow. So right now, just a short while ago, I was ordained as a minister in the Orthodox Church. And I am working with, so I'm kind of spiritual leader for the state of Missouri. Men come to me with Bible questions, and actually, well, I mean,
Okay,
Yes or
so
no?
I'm gonna set you straight
Yeah.
on this one. You either are or you're not. Which one?
God is using me to help men
You're
understand the Bible better.
We're gonna go R.
God is using men to help me,
We're gonna go
using
R.
me to help men understand the Bible better. And I get questions not just from guys in my state, but because we're international, we're in 35 countries on 6 continents. And there are men that I have had a 2-year relationship
And I
with
got
that
some
we don't
people for you to
even,
meet.
awesome. We don't even speak the same language, but Google Translate, we were talking about technology, right? So we've got 2 years worth of conversations. I don't even honestly know some of them, but I couldn't read it. We got guys in the Philippines. We've got guys in Nepal where Christianity is illegal.
Yep.
And they're wearing the same patch on their back that I'm wearing that says
Turn around,
Christian. Yeah. That says
With tight quarters back here.
disciple Christian,
Yep.
and has that big cross. And we'll go 3 or 4 days without hearing from these guys.
So you don't know what's happened.
Well, you talk to them afterwards and they've been beaten by the police to the point that they can't get out of bed and use a phone for 3 or 4 days.
But they're still
They're still out there repping God's kingdom.
And we think we got it so rough, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh, a liberal might yell at me. Well, sorry.
Yeah, but
Yeah. A liberal might yell at me, or 4 policemen might take out their nightsticks and beat the heck out of me for 30 minutes because I'm wearing Christ's name on my back. It's really about degree, right? It's about what are you
We
willing to
stand up
do?
for the things that are not going to do anything for our eternity, but we don't want to stand up for Christ, even though we,
Mhm.
I don't have to say we don't stand up for him. We don't boldly proclaim it the
We
way
don't
that we
boldly
should.
proclaim.
Correct.
Yeah. And it's a little tough on occasion when you hear someone, when you know these brothers in Nepal that are going through this kind of persecution, and then you have someone in church go, well, my car's just got 70,000 miles. I guess that's my cross to bear. I just
You have
can't.
to say
And
that's
I'm
it?
like,
70,000.
well, I mean,
Let's just get started on my
or
car.
whatever their little daily complaint is. They had a blowout on their RV when they went on a 2-week vacation, and they want to, it's like,
I had a blowout in my basement and I'm still here.
right, yeah. So it's a little.
man.
You try not to. I mean, obviously, you don't want to harden your heart. Everyone has their own journey, and God. I'm fully convinced that God did that for a reason. There are men that we are blessed to be able to minister to in the outlaw motorcycle world that will never hear it from the Pentecostal Baptist
And they
or the
wouldn't even
Pentecostal
want to hear it
Baptist.
from somebody like me because
Right.
number one, I don't look like you.
Right.
And number two, I haven't had that life, nor do I look like I've had that life,
Right.
but they can relate to you.
Right. And when I walk in their clubhouse, they go, yeah, he belongs here. Like he fits, he's
They're
been
gonna
down
ask me
through
if
the
I'm
darn
lost.
thing.
And unfortunately, it is a code of ethics. I can't think of a different word, even though it's not a code of ethics, because we
Sure.
were very unethical to get the code of ethics.
Right.
But I had somebody that, Terrence, one of our counter people, he wanted them to do the show. And Terrence is not a felon, and this lady was, and her charges were back in the 90s.
Mhm.
No, Terrence, I'm not doing the show. No, that's in my past. I'm not doing it. And I said, why aren't you doing the show? I did 4 years in the Fed. She says, what time's the show?
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, but yes.
And when we go into these outlaw motorcycle clubhouses, we're not going in bottles blazing, right? But what we're letting them know is we're there for that day.
Mhm.
Like this
but
is
what
the
they
celebration
see is
day.
if he can, maybe I can.
That's right.
And
And
that's
so
what they see.
when they hit that moment, in addiction, or one of their brothers goes down on a motorcycle, or their mom gets sick, or they have a sick
Just triggers.
child, or whatever it is, instead of them just lashing out and not knowing where they can go, we've taken the time and built those personal relationships, and we get phone calls that would curl your hair.
How?
Can you come down to the hospital? We got a brother down. And these are, you'll have 15 or 20 of the hardest men you never want to meet in a dark alley that are crying out to God. And it's our responsibility to be that light in the darkness.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to tell you that God uses those tragedies because we don't listen when we are called.
That's right.
That's why I went to prison. I probably could have got probation, but because I was a believer before.
Okay.
And that was the only way he was going to get my attention.
Yeah.
And he did. And now I
I
do
call
what I
that
do.
the knothole effect. I don't know
Yep.
if you've ever heard. I think I told you about the knothole
I
effect.
think we talked about it on the phone, but
So I have a little bit of a belief system. When you're going through a trial, everybody knows what a knothole in a tree is. So you're going through it. You're going to get splinters going through it.
right.
Okay. However, sometimes, like myself, I'm a hard learner. In other words, I don't listen real well. And God, I use the proverbial, he kicks me back to the knothole backwards. So I get splinters going back and I get to go through it again.
Yeah.
So I get 3 times the splinters to learn a lesson. And I'm like, dude, you're just a hardhead. And I know God just going, son, I love you. But boy, you need to check yourself a little
Yeah,
bit.
well, I say that it was my prison stay was a gift.
Oh, absolutely.
And when people say, how in the world? Yes, I missed my family, but I wasn't any good to my family the way that I was.
It's
So
exactly
I
right.
needed to have that time. And it was discipline, but it was also love. And I would not be doing what I'm doing now if it wasn't for that. I've been doing the same old life, the same old story, the same old movie, the same old chapter. And he knew that he had a greater purpose for my life.
Right.
He had a greater purpose for your life, but he also knew if he didn't get you in that prison cell, it wasn't going to
It
happen.
wasn't going to happen. Yeah.
That's the refinement part.
That's the refiner's fire. And people have a really twisted idea about what even earthly parental love is, right? But at the end of the day, we don't let our kids ride bicycles in the street because it's bad for them. Like inherently, meeting a car at 40 miles an hour is not going to go well for a 6-year-old. And how many cars did you and I jump in front of? Like,
I use that analogy on the highway. I was on the highway.
yeah.
God kept giving me exits.
She was on a scooter, not a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I talk about that in the very first time I shared my story.
Yeah.
The only way he gave me detours. He gave me everything, and I had to hit that wall.
Various off ramps.
Yeah. It's kind of funny is in the motorcycle club world, we make long road trips. We just got back from a trip to Alabama. And you got somebody that's basically in charge of the route. Sometimes you make a wrong turn, or there's a road shut off, or whatever. The destination is known, and that's kind of where I feel like we're at with God. You know the starting point, and we know the destination, and He's got this lovely route mapped out for us.
But the journey.
But no matter how many turns we take in the wrong direction and how many
He's
off
gonna
ramps we
win.
take, we're going to end up where God wants us.
His
If-
Google Maps
if
is way
you
different
have-
than our Google Maps.
If you have truly accepted Christ,
Yeah.
God is going to win.
God is going to win. That's right. And there is a great power. Even before I really truly, I had Christ in my life, but He wasn't my Lord.
That's
And,
where I was.
I had a pastor explain it to me really beautifully. He said,
It's hard to understand if you don't experience that.
if you go to the zoo and you go to the lion enclosure and you see this lion that close, and this is a massive, scary animal in person. This is you look at it and everything about it says it's designed to kill other things.
Mhm.
And it's behind
claws
a
to the
plex.
teeth.
Yeah, claws to the teeth, to the way that it
Everything.
is maned, the way it's built, the way it moves. There is no doubt in your mind at that moment that lion means exactly what God intended it to do, right? But it's behind plexiglass, or it's on the other side of a moat, or
Protective
it's
status.
so the difference in believing in Christ and having Christ as your Lord is the difference between seeing the lion in the zoo and seeing him on the couch in your living room. Because when he's on the couch in your living room, all of a sudden he's Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Like what he wants is what's going to
That's
happen.
right. That's a good point.
And when we keeping Jesus behind that plexiglass on the other side of the moat, we keep him there. People keep him in reserve, right, for those
We're on the
moments.
other side of the phone, and the phone only works one way.
Yeah,
That we're doing the calling when we need him, and we're not listening or picking up when he's
that's
calling
right.
us.
We're not conversing with him.
That's right.
All we're doing is requesting. When you take Jesus out from behind that plexiglass and you put him on your couch, that lion from behind the plexiglass, the Lion of Judah, that's what the Bible describes him as, right?
Mhm.
Put him on the couch and see how it changes how you do everything. Because with a lion on your sofa, everything you do changes.
I had a friend tell me once, her kids were using some language and not acting the right way, not listening to music that she thought was appropriate. So she said, imagine those headphones on your ears, Christ's in one of them. Would you put that on Christ?
Yeah.
It's powerful.
It is.
Even though he already hears it. But she was
right.
using the analogy of, would you put those headphones on him and let him hear and see everything that you're doing?
Well, and it's amazing. You know, the scripture tells us to guard our hearts, guard our ears, guard our eyes on what we see, what we listen to, and what we speak. But even in coming out of prison so sold out for God, I got to that point where I'm going to go to the gym again. I'm going to get myself, because jail shape's not good shape.
You're speaking to the choir. I still got it with me. What are you talking about?
and I have no jail shape.
There are a few guys that get real serious about physical fitness, but for the most part, we're on the honey bun diet. You know,
and the food that you're getting is all carbs.
Yeah,
mine's chips. I prefer chips.
Okay.
No honey buns. I want chips.
Now, wait a minute. In prison, you get the "Don't take the chips" video. So
so I started going to the gym, and I pulled up one of my old workout playlists, and about half a song in, I went,
nope.
Wow, what have I been poisoning myself with all this time? You know, we'll say, oh man, this song gets me pumped up. Well, it gets you pumped up because it's awful. It is, I mean, it's speaking in sometimes directly against God.
And you don't even realize it until sometimes now you have awareness for it where you didn't before.
Right. Yeah.
And you don't understand that. So sometimes, even now, a song would come on that was from, childhood, and you're saying, oh, did those words, what? Did that mean what I think it meant? Yeah.
It's amazing how calloused we get to that constant input. And so it's been.
But that also demonstrates change.
It does. So I'm not a television watcher. The guys in my crew give me a hard time all the time. They're like, did you see this show? No, I didn't see that show. Because there's 3 tells in prison that get you in fights, right? Television, telephone, telecop. Like,
wow.
So, and after being locked up for 2.5 years, I've seen all the Fast and Furious movies 73 times. I'm good. I could recite the lines. I knew that even in commercial advertising, when I came out into Mission Gate, one of the guys that was brand new wasn't really connecting with people, and he asked me if I would watch a hockey game with him on the TV. And even though I don't watch TV, I wanted to take that time to connect with him.
Where's that? Meet him where he's
at. That's right. Like Paul said, I will become all things to all people that they know Christ, right? Not for my benefit, not for my glory, but for God's. And so I sat down with him to watch his St. Louis Blues play hockey. And the first television advertisement that came on was a pet food commercial. Now, I can't tell you anything about the pet food, but what I can tell you is it's a 22-year-old fitness model in spandex and a sports bra bent over a bowl putting dog food in. They're not trying to sell you dog food. I have no idea what kind of dog food it was. I can tell you what color pants she had on. I can tell you what color her hair was. And it was right at that exact moment that I went, no, I'm done. I'm not because I'm strong, because I'm weak. Like, there is something to recognizing.
Absolutely.
But now you can stream without the commercials. I'm just saying.
Fast forward.
Right. It's amazing. And then even you use Facebook for Bible studies or whatever, and you say certain things, sexual immorality or adultery or lust, comes up in a Bible scripture, and then all of a sudden all these pop-up ads come in.
Well, that or with me, I was promoting our very first Safe in His Arms conference, and they took my Facebook down, and I lost it all. I had to start over again, and my Instagram, because they were tied.
Wow. Yeah. So I'm still trying to figure out the social media thing. I'm on
it's a necessary evil.
As a guy that was on the run.
If you're going to promote, people need to know what you do. That's everybody goes there.
As a guy that was on the run for a long time, I had the burners every 21 days. I went and bought a new burner phone from Dollar General.
That actually would still work today.
Yeah, and you put 4 or 5 numbers in it, and then after 3 weeks, you throw it in the lake and you go get another one. So, getting on Facebook, getting on social
stock in
media,
the cell phone business, right?
Well, it just, you asked how I stayed out of prison. That was one of the ways. I did not have, the $1,200 iPhone that they can track whether you're standing up or sitting down. And all of that made me very uncomfortable because of my history. So now it's really tough a lot of men say that they come to our club for accountability. right, because they don't have anyone in their life to hold them to the standard that they say they're going to meet. But at the end of the day, most people don't actually want accountability.
No, they don't.
And a big part of what we do in discipling men to have a daily word and prayer time and supporting that 1% world in prayer is that accountability piece. We have phone trackers on you.
So I have a little thing on that.
Yeah. You look running from accountability. Yeah.
And what this is, you run it as an antelope with a jaguar on your hand, and the accountability is chasing you.
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing. I posted it. It was
But
awesome.
most people truly don't. And if I'm being honest, when I came to the club, I had no desire. Like when they told my wife that I was going to have to put a location tracker on my phone, she said, "Oh, well, what are you going to do now that you're not going to do that?" Like she knew that was a deal breaker for me. But again, God moved and said, "No, there's something for you here. I had put this in your path. You need to trust."
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Your club a little more, because I think that's important, because that's something that you use as a tool to reach out to the 1%ers. So what does your club do? Or let's go through the name.
Yeah. So we are Disciple Christian Motorcycle Club.
Okay. And where's I know you have different.
We do. So we're in
locations.
We are in 35 countries on 6 continents.
Okay.
We have men all over the world, but
And you founded this.
No. The founder's name is James Johnson, and it's been 16 years now. He came from the outlaw motorcycle world, and he wanted, when he left that, he still wanted the brotherhood, and he wanted people to ride motorcycles with, but he had remapped his life to align with Christ. And so he wanted to figure out how to combine the two. And there are a lot of motorcycle ministries out there, and there's some great club organizations doing some amazing things. Bikers for Christ and Christian Motorcyclists Association. And they go around to events and they do bike blessings and they do other things like that. The thing that sets us apart is we are an old school MC. We have very strict rules on membership. It takes at least 1 year of prospecting for the club to be eligible to become a member. And most generally, it's much longer than that. We have daily disciplines that we go through every day. Our 4 foundations are personal spiritual development, cultivating an epic marriage, living an epic fatherhood, and overcoming addiction. Okay. So when we're building on those 4 foundations, and we have a ton of tools that help you to build those, we take that very seriously, and we expect men to grow in their walk with God. And it's also a vetting process for us, because I like Brian. Brian and I talked on the phone. He's but I can't take Brian into an outlaw motorcycle clubhouse because I don't know him like that, and I don't know what his background is. So we actually have background checks on all of our members. We have, like I said, the location tracking. There are places that we are not allowed pursuing or as full members to go to. We have a very strict no strip club policy. We do not allow drinking of alcohol in club colors. Now, you don't have to be alcohol free, but if you're wearing these colors, you're representing the club, you're representing Christ. You need to be sober and aware. So there are some things that truly are designed to lead you towards a closer relationship with God. And the benefit that you get from it is you've got these men in the Philippines, in Brazil, in Colombia, the country, not Columbia, Missouri, where they were former Hells Angels members that are going into these clubhouses. This is tough country. You're in cartel country. With outlaw motorcycle clubs. These are men of God. I mean, these are, but you can lean on all of those men and you can find out the things that are working for them. So even though we are just operating in the state of Missouri in my crew, I can lean out to my guys all across the world and say, man, we're running into this closed door. What do you know about how we can open it? And so it makes all of us stronger.
So how do they reach out to you or find a little bit more about this? Because I'm sure there's people that's going to see this out there. And they want to know the pathway, because this is something, I've known Joe. He's over in the corner. I've known Joe for a long time. We went to school together. And this has been one of his passions for some time. He said, Brian, I just don't know which direction to go a few times. And he kept seeking and seeking. Finally, he found what aligned with him. So how does somebody out there, because you're talking to them,
Sure.
how do they find you? How do they find what the resources to come in your direction so they can get prospected, go through the process?
So we've got a really, really effective and amazing leadership team. It's taken some time. There have been bumps along the way. But we actually, if you go to disciplechristianmc.com.
So say that again.
Disciplechristianmc.com.
Okay.
What you're going to see is a region map. So it'll be state chart, individual charters. And you click on where you live, and that's going to give you a regional point of contact.
Okay.
That's going to give you a man that can get you started on the process and put you in touch with somebody in your area. So otherwise, something like this, I hope there's 1,000 calls that come in, but I can't field 1,000 calls from 1,000 men and know who to put them in touch
But
with.
a team can.
And we do have that team in place to make sure that they're responded to, that they meet men who are local to them, so that they can, like you said earlier, doing it online is okay, but a face-to-face meeting
means more.
means so much more.
It does.
So he can walk them through, what the expectations, what we offer, and how to get in contact with their local club. So Disciple Christian Motorcycle Club, click on the region map, find the place where you live, and it'll give you all the contact information.
Awesome. So we've only got a short time left.
Okay.
We have our airtime is only 56 minutes, and we have to put all our stuff into it. But do you have a word for those that are lost?
I mean, gosh, there's so many, aren't there? I do have. No matter how dark it is, Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, right? There is not much darker than spending Christmas Eve in a prison cell on your knees, broken, without your family, without your children, without your businesses, without anything. When everything is ripped away from you, when it's just you, and you're faced with the consequences of your behavior. I'm not putting it on anybody else. I lived that lifestyle.
Yeah.
I was exactly where I needed to be to pay my debt to society, and I was exactly where I needed to be to build a relationship with God. And whatever that rock bottom is, just that nobody would ever feel like they have done so much that God won't forgive. Because I promise you, I have stories that will curl your hair, and I have heard stories that will curl mine, and I've been bald for 10 years. And those men have the same love of the Father that I have, and that you have, and that minister behind the pulpit in the suit has.
There's no judgment.
There is no judgment. All he wants is an honest relationship with you. He just wants you
And
to
if
come
you do
in.
that, he will heal the rest.
And he's standing there with open arms, waiting to receive you, waiting to embrace you, waiting to make you feel loved, even if you don't have a great idea of what that means. Let him show you. Just give him an inch. Just give him an inch.
That's sound advice.
I imagine he's going to take like 5 miles.
Oh, yeah, he's going to take way more than an inch, but give him that inch. What does it cost? Where do you want to be tomorrow? When I was walking out of the prison cell and they told me I was going home the next day, I knew exactly what my future looked like. It looked like just what I was in. And so do I want tomorrow to look like today, or can I actually believe that there's a better tomorrow available to me?
Rinse and repeat.
Right.
Same.
Yeah.
The results.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And the one other thing that I would say, and this is something that the club has really brought, building brotherhood, surround yourself with people who love you, who actually love you.
And that want to be around you.
At one
Try to
point,
fit in somewhere else.
At one point, I was the librarian in St. Joe, not far from here. And so it was my job to go through the cells and collect all the books, make sure they weren't damaged, that there was no
My
contraband
husband's
in
got a
them.
brother there now.
Yeah. And the little Gideon's New Testament and Psalms, right? So everybody uses those in prison to smoke cigarettes or weed with because the paper burns really good. Sorry, that's it.
It is what it is.
So we had to go through those really to make sure there was nothing hidden in them. And I opened one up, and in the worst handwriting I've ever seen, it had to be an adult because we were in an adult facility. It said, last night, I prayed that God would take all of my enemies out of my life. And when I woke up this morning, my friends were gone.
Ooh.
It's powerful.
Ooh.
And I thought, how true is that we have surrounded ourselves. Everything for an addict is a transactional relationship. What can I do for you? What can you do for me? Not how can we help each other? And there's a difference.
When they weren't his friends to begin with.
That's right. I prayed that God would take my enemies out of my life, and I woke up this morning and my friends were gone.
Yeah. And sometimes that means I woke up in the jail cell because everything's been stripped from me, but that was the only way that he was going to get you from it. And that's exactly what happened to me.
That's right. Going back
I didn't pray that though.
Going back to the same places with the same people doing the same things is going to lead to the same results.
It sure is.
And there's a way better option. And his name is Jesus Christ, and he's waiting. He's waiting.
He is.
Yeah.
So
and he will patiently
he's
wait.
Waiting and watching, waiting for you and for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Derek. This has been amazing.
Oh,
Absolutely.
pleasure.
Absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time, and I appreciate Joe putting us in connection with each other.
All ordained, right? There's no chance in this world.
No,
God's
that's
got a
right.
plan for all of it.
And I've learned to listen. I have a shirt that I had made that says "When Jesus calls my name," because I used to say no.
Yeah.
Now I say yes.
Yeah.
And it's powerful when you say yes.
It is powerful. It is. He will do so much. And it says in his word that he is waiting to bless you abundantly more and greater than you ever thought was possible. And that's been so true. For me to think about 8 years ago in prison when I was thinking there was another 11 years ahead of me. And now he's brought me out. He's given me education about his word to help people learn it better. He's ordained me as a minister so that I can be there for people in those moments. I've already performed funeral services. I've performed baptisms. I'm helping to grow the kingdom. So anybody who thinks that's for the preacher, you need to stop. You need, because God called on each one of us to do it.
It's for everybody.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Well, guys, stay tuned for more episodes. Go over to FromFelonToFabulous.com, see what's going on, and watch us on our programs. See you later.
Or do you want to be the person that's helpful, that soothes, that loves? Because you can still stand tall and be as big as you want to be when you are this person.